The new start date in mid-September saw 250 mountain bikers from across South Africa and 16 overseas countries arrive in the small but vibrant northeastern Free State town for a journey through the vast farmlands, sandstone hills and bushveld on remote, seldom-used tracks and trails, with a finish in the heart of the central Drakensberg at the Champagne Sports Resort. The Old Mutual go2berg is run by two passionate South African mountain bikers, Gary Green and Craig Wapnick.
We had a very successful event in Joburg to see, and I think what we did was we underestimated how it was a bit of a challenge when we actually changed the name and the brand to go2berg. It's essentially the same thing, but we didn't realize that people would thought that the one had come to an end, and now we were starting something new. It's actually not new. It is Joburg to see with a different name, essentially, and a different ending, and it's a bit shorter. But it's the same formula and philosophy, and it's the same vibe. So I think what we did this year was we cemented another year of this new but still the same kind of event and ethos. And I think from here we should grow the foreign contingent, the South African contingent, based on, wow, we're riding across South Africa, what a journey.
The journey started on the first afternoon with a relaxed 20k prologue along the banks of the Wilge River and through the farms near Frankfurt. There was no serious racing, just an opportunity to loosen the legs, check the bike out and meet new and old like-minded riding friends who would accompany us on a wonderful journey across our beautiful country. And of course enjoy the incredible hospitality of the children of Hoërskool Wilgerivier and the entire Frankfurt community, for whom this is the biggest day on their annual fundraising calendar, and they did an awesome job once again, setting the tone for a week of world-class rural hospitality. In the shadow of the massive grain silos that are kept full by these hard-working farmers of the region, we awoke to a stunning morning. The daily ritual began with a complimentary Seattle coffee, a breakfast fit for a long day's riding, and great vibes from the courier guys, who loaded our bags onto the trucks we'd find in Rates, our destination on stage 1. The hospitality was next level at the water points, each of which for the 6 days is run with enthusiasm and energy by a school, a farmers association, a church or a similar organisation raising much needed funds with their involvement, and deeply appreciated by hungry riders. The remote farm and district roads are our playground for the day as we wound our way through massive recently harvested millie fields. Make no mistake, it was tough going. 95 kilometres, around 1,000 metres of climbing, is not to be trifled with, particularly on a windy day, and untrained legs in some cases. Hoërskool Rates provided much needed sustenance and energetic encouragement at the second water point. 30 kilometres up the track, and a long line of riders rolled into the Billy Millie Showgrounds, our home for the night. Stage 2 beckoned. Clarence was our destination in the eastern Free State. After a hearty breakfast and of course a few of Seattle's best, we were shuttled up the road to start the stage at VKB's Danielrus depot. A reverse order start had Batch C going off first as we headed out on a perfect morning for mountain biking. The first 40 kilometres were on undulating farm roads, quiet they were and fast going. Creating a route that meets the needs and desires of riders is a tricky task, especially when traversing across vast tracts of rural South Africa.
So for starters, the route is not easy. We're not trying to just have mountain biking in one area. There are other events that take care of that. You can go and do many events that are shorter, many events that are this or that. This is about a journey across South Africa, and with that comes challenges. You've got wind, you've got sections of road that might go on for a bit long for some people. Some people love it. You can never please everybody in terms of the route, but what you can do is you can explain to people that this is a way of seeing South Africa and meeting the people. If you're fit enough and you're strong enough, you should have an absolute blast as you go through the country. But the route does change. I mean, we go through the Eastern Free State, which is very different, and open spaces, and some of our European riders who live in mountainous areas couldn't believe the open spaces. And then we get to Clarence, the mountains and the Veluties, and then we drop down the escarpment into Bergen bush country. I mean, it's variation, and not everything's going to be great for some people all the time, but I think overall we have spectacular riding, we have spectacular views, and we have amazing farmers that let us go through their backyard, which is incredible. They're an amazing community.
Never better evident than at the finish of a tough Stage 2 into Clarence. A properly hard day's riding under the belt, excited riders were welcomed in by the exuberant learners from the Clarence Private School, our generous hosts for the night. It was a no-tent night, with all the riders staying in the numerous hotels and guest houses of Clarence. A real treat for them and for us at the right time. With 2 days of riding under the belt, it was time to head back towards the Drakensberg. Stage 3 was the longest of the race at 105 kilometres from Clarence to Windmill Farm on the Free State KZN escarpment. The Old Mutual go2berg riders were in good spirits after a night under a duvet and in a guest house or hotel. They were ready to roll, to dig deep and conquer the challenging day's ride. A dozen bold women from the UK were on gravel bikes and were having the time of their lives. As were the multitude of riders who had made the trip out from Germany, France, Belgium, the Czech Republic, Italy, and many other faraway destinations, all coming to experience this very special South African journey.
Well, I think one of the great things about being an international is coming out here and having the vast space and seeing communities in a very congested Europe, where every time you turn somewhere you see somebody or a hiker or a rider or whatever. Here I'm sure these guys have seen absolutely no one for 3 or 4 hours while they ride their bike, and it's a cathartic, almost like spiritual thing in terms of what the feedback they've come to me with. They can't wait to share it with their friends and other riders, and I think that's where we're super excited about growing the event, because people that have never seen South Africa should really come and ride their bikes across this great country.
A real highlight of the day was the Mount Paul summit. A single-track climb up to the top of this standalone mountain reveals spectacular views across to Sterkfontein Dam. Built for Joburg to see by Glenn Harrison in 2011, Mount Paul is a once-a-year trail. The 2.5-kilometre climb is gentle. The 4-kilometre descent is anything but gentle. It's a sensation, flowing down the mountain at high speed. A generous reward for the toil of the climb. After a long bull next to the massive Sterkfontein Dam, riders rolled onto the lawns of Windmill Farm. The excitement of finishing got the Becker Bonkai here. No damage done. Well, nothing and a Quella drink followed by a beer couldn't heal, of course. Our host school was Harriston Primary from Harry Smith, and the energy of the learners matched the royal spread at their magnificent tea table. Time for a massage and stretch. 3 days done, 3 to go. The fourth morning dawned cool and wet. A front had moved in, bringing with it persistent rain and mist. At the 11th hour, the race organisers, in conjunction with the medics, SARSA and the safety officer, took the tough but correct decision to reroute the race. Instead of riding higher into the mist and then off the escarpment on a myriad of trails, they sent us down the Ulafishoek Pass on the R74 tar road through Bergville. The race was neutralised and everyone enjoyed a relaxed roll down the historic pass into KwaZulu-Natal. Ahead was the vibiest water point at Dalmore Lodge. Again underpinning the wonderful community-based ethos of this extraordinary journey.
The Old Mutual go2berg has grown quite a bit from a foreign perspective and a South African perspective since last year. However, the emphasis we're going to put on this event is, yes, we want to grow the numbers to make it viable for the schools and communities and even for us as a business people, but we want to make sure that we retain the last 2 years of what we've done, and that is to make something truly special. We couldn't do an ending like this at Champagne Sports if it was too big. We couldn't do Clarence accommodation on the house if it was too big. So we just got to find that balance, but jeepers, what a way to go.
What a difference a night makes. Our fifth morning was a beaut.
Folks, day 5 of the Old Mutual go2berg. What a special day. We're going up that mountain which you can't see in camera here, called Spiernkop Mountain. It's famous. We've got single track galore. It's single track heaven. It's going to be an absolute perler of a day. Go out there, ride the trails, have fun, keep it loose as a goose, and you'll have the best day ever.
Wappo wasn't even riding, but he knew we were in for one of the best days on a mountain bike. 50 kilometers of pure trail riding. After a stage of district road riding, everyone was hyped to take on the best trails in Gary Green and his chief trail builder Beksen Kuneni's considerable collection. We as mountain bikers owe a huge debt of gratitude to men like Gary and Beksen, passionate South Africans who see potential and positives up every hill and around every corner.
I think the biggest thank you is to South Africa, because South Africa is a country where you can make things possible, make things happen, and you can actually do these kind of things with incredible people. And I think that is what's blown our foreigners away in terms of how appreciative they are. So I'm going to say a big thank you to South Africa and South Africans.
A week that continued to highlight all that makes this country such a special place. Frying farmers, magnificent giraffe, wide open spaces we could call our own for a few hours, thanks to the spirit of generosity and kindness that prevails through the rural heartland of South Africa. The climb to the top of Speenkop Mountain was via an amazing trail on the northern slope called the Boer Route. It's Beksen Kuneni's masterpiece. The last kilometre to the summit is a little less forgiving. Time to reflect on the brutality and futility of war as we rode past the Boer and Brit graves. In a few months, it'll be 125 years since that infamous Battle of Speenkop. The view from the top was magical. Speenkop Dam in front of its eponymous mountain, and in the hazy distance, the majestic Ukonklamba Drakensberg Range, where we were headed. The last 15 kilometres of the day was an absolute blast. A flowing single-track trail winding down off the mountain at high speed. Surely no better way to finish a stage, as we rolled in towards Mseni Camp, invigorated and energized by a great morning's ride. A comfortable night in the riverside luxury tents was bookended by a golden sunset and a crystal clear sunrise ahead of the final stage of the Old Mutual go2berg, followed by a bowl of steaming hot porridge. Over the last 6 days, we'd met and connected with like-minded people from all over the world. Colin spun the vibey tunes, new mum Roxy smiled radiantly, and race voice Lee made us laugh all week. 85 kilometres with 1,500 metres of climbing, it was, as they say, a proper stage, that's for sure. A swift pedal downstream on the banks of the Tugela was the leg stretcher before the first climb up the appropriately named Pafetta Pass. It bites. Gary Green and his farm boss and son Wesley had cleared the way for us through their lush lands. The gravel peloton from the UK were still as strong as ever. Winterton Rugby Club's Waterpoint was like an ant's nest. All part of what was an exceptional last day's riding. So, what's in store for next year's Old Mutual go2berg?
In 2025, we're going to make it a pay-it-forward kind of concept, where all our loyal riders, the riders that did it this year, can get first preference to early entries, but not just for themselves. They can also get first preference to friends who they want to share it with, and they can pass that on to them to say, you know, use my name as a reference and you will get a nice, good entry, and that's because we want word of mouth to spread. I think that's our big thing. So 2025, word of mouth, let's get more people here, more people to see this great country and ride across it and go through people's farms and just enjoy the experience. And I mean, to our riders who've taken 7 days out of their lives, hopefully they had a great escape from the normal routine of life. Hopefully they don't go back too exhausted, and hopefully they come back to us. But big shout out, thank you guys, thank you folks.
It's a soulful but hard ride through the heart of South Africa. Those points along the way are but points on a map. What really makes the Old Mutual go2berg so special are those communities and of course all the riders involved. Without them, this would not be such a beautiful event. Thank you to all of them, the riders and the communities, for making this just such an extraordinary experience for us all.